enough for it to be legal.
All right, on page 5, if you'll look at the assignment, what this is the literary criticism, and I need everybody to pay attention so you see what you're doing. I've put everybody's name next to an author and to a poem. What we do in here when we get to this unit in your green literature book about the Renaissance poets, we don't spend time on each one of them. What I do is I assign one to each one of you, and then that's how we cover that. But it's also how we cover our big research paper. It's the end of October. This is usually when I start this. But you can see, if you'll look, on page 5, you can see who you have and who your author is. So instead of Googling that right now, I want you to go back up to page 1, and let's talk about this whole literary criticism. And you need to fill in where it says, well, I don't think you can, but a literary criticism is, and I'll just type it in there for you since I don't think that you can type. A literary criticism it's a combination of research. Is it typing on yours now? It's a combination of research and your own thoughts about a piece of literature. Okay, sounds exciting, but that's what it is. What you're going to do, second paragraph there, is research a British poem from the Renaissance era. So everybody's going to be in the same era. Some of you, a couple of you will have the same author, maybe 2 or 3 of you will have the same author, but everybody will have a different piece of work, and it'll be a poem. And that's what you saw on page 5.
My poem's name is Song.
Yours is named Song. Yeah. The research project, if you'll just follow along with me, it's divided into 5 parts. And each has a different due date. And if you'll go ahead and scroll on down to page 4, you'll be able to see a couple of things on page 4. In the couple of blue things that are highlighted, your literary criticism is your final exam. Okay, so we're starting our final exam now, and it will be your final exam for the high school class and the Clarendon College class. Okay, so it's a big thing that you'll want to spend some time on. That's the reason that I don't just say it's all due on December 4th, because some of you will wait till December 3rd and then do a really bad job on it. Not all of you, but a lot of you will. And I know who you are. On the table then, I've broken it down into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, your sources and your bibliography. And notice that everything except the last thing is due on Google Classroom. Only do you turn your final product in on December 4th, and that's a Monday. And all due dates are at the same time so that it's the beginning of the class period. So what we'll do is just go over what exactly that you have to do, and I'll go over the first parts, the first parts, so that you know what's due, immediately. What's due first, I guess. So go back to page 1. Go to where it says in yellow. Parts 1 through 3 are the author, the historical, and the literary portion of your paper. And I put that that's due on Monday, November 13th, which is really just, I guess, 3 weeks away. And you'll turn that into Google Classroom. So what you're going to find out, you saw on page 5 who your author is. So what you need to find out about your author are those things. And I've listed 5 bullets. Home and family life, early years, that author's education, who or what influenced him to write, and they are all male. Career, things about that author's career, and birth, death, and places. If there are some things that you can't find, then you don't put in your paper that you couldn't find them. They're unfindable maybe. So that's author portion. That's biography. That's probably the easiest portion of the paper. Go to the next section. It gets a little bit harder because you're looking at historical context. Now, author, historical, and literary are all done in one part of the paper that you'll turn in at one time. So the historical part, what you're looking for here is when and where was this poem written and published, and what was taking place in the country when it was published. So what political, social, economic events, what's going on? Because y'all, I hope you've noticed that in my class, history is not separate from literature. It happens together. Things happen, and people write about them. So maybe your poem is just a love poem. But maybe your poem is written about a war and about a man going off to war, and he writes about that. And so that would be obviously a political or economic event. So look at those last three bullets before that literary context blue highlight. It says, how did these events affect the author's writing? Okay, that's something that you're going to have to figure out. Or did they? They may not have. It may just have been about something that happened in his life. Does your author include references to these world events in the poem you've been assigned, and are they reflected in the themes of this poet? So those are the things that you'll do for historical. And then finally for the literary context, go down to the bottom of page 1, top of page 2. What literary time period does this poem fit into? Y'all, it's Renaissance. I told you already. So you don't even have to answer that. Check it off. You have to tell me, though, what the literary characteristics of this time period are and if your poem fits into that. So for that, if you'll go back to classroom and right on top of where it said Lit Crit assignment sheet, and by the way, I'll call it the Lit Crit literary criticism, Lit Crit, you get it. If you'll click on the first thing that I've attached there, I've attached there the pages in your book from pages 295 to, I guess, 299. And the reason I did that is because it tells you what's the first page called.
There is historical context.
Historical context. Yay. Okay, so you've got that, and it tells you some of that historical context. All right, so you've got that. All right. And as well, you'll have the literary. And I'll look and see if I didn't attach the literary, I'll attach that as well. So you've got what you need, so you don't have to take a textbook home unless you just want to. I need you to go to page 2 and go to where it says sources. So the first thing that you have due on page 5, page 4, in the box, the table, is your sources in your bibliography, and that's due a week from Tuesday. So almost, you have a week and a half essentially. You have a week and a half to work on that, getting your sources together. And we'll work on that. Some in class and some you'll have to work on your own. So go to the little teal blue, turquoise blue sources thing, and it says begin with your literature book, looking at the Renaissance section, and I've given you that. Okay, those pages are scanned for you. You will cite your literature book as a work in an anthology, and we've done that a couple of times. Our library does have hard copies of some things. And so some of you may prefer real books instead of so many digital sources, and if so, that's fine. The digital sources that you can use, I've listed them there, and the first one is Columbia Granger's World of Poetry, and it's an excellent site. It's on our online database, and there's a link there to me showing you how to find that. And I do that mainly for people who aren't in the classroom. But I'll show you, I'll show you on Monday, but that in real time, but there's that video also. You also can use Artemis Literature Reference Center. Those are both on that text share, the red, white, and blue Texas. Y'all nod your heads if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, red, white, and blue Texas, they're there. Salem Press, do y'all see where I am? I'm under the little passcode. Salem Press is excellent. WISD pays for us to get that subscription cost, so you can use that. The only thing you have to have is your library card and number. If you don't know it, which I don't have mine memorized, some of you may have it memorized. If you don't, they'll give it to you in the library, no problem. You can have that, and your password is your birth year. So that's how you get into Salem Press. In addition, you may use one internet source, which is not a book or a database. I'm not so stupid as to know that you're not going to go directly to Wikipedia. Shmoop is really good. SparkNotes, Pink Monkey, Cliffs Notes, all of those places. And that's fine. You're going to Google it and you're going to look because it's going to say analysis of, and you're going to read that. And that's okay, but you're not going to cite it because I'm going to say no. You can't cite that. So you won't be able to cite those things. You will only be able to cite the sources and turn in sources to me that are credible. Okay? The first thing then that you have to do is your sources and your bibliography. That's at the bottom of page 2. What you will do is you will open a Google Doc titled Bibliography, and then you will list your 5 sources correctly on your bibliography page, and then you will either have a PDF or a doc of those 5 sources. So you're going to turn in 6 documents to me. 5 of them will be an actual source that you're going to turn in to me, and 1 of them will be your bibliography, which is a list of sources. And those are due on November 7th. So what you've got to do in this next week and a half is start looking for sources. That's what you're doing. All right? Go to the next thing that I've said. Much of part 1 through 3, because what you'll do after your sources will be writing the part 1 through 3, the literary and the author and the historical. Almost all of that, guys, is going to be cited because you don't know a lot about your person. Some of you know a little bit about Shakespeare, but the rest of you that don't have Shakespeare, you probably never even heard of the guy. So all of it is going to be cited. Okay, I'm not going to go through the rest of that for right now because all you need to know about is what's due immediately, a week and a half away, which is finding your 5 sources. Okay, so that's what we'll start on Monday. We'll start on a new, make sure I'm right, we'll start on a new era in medieval literature. It's called Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. It has to do with King Arthur. And then I'll also give you some time to start searching for your sources. Okay? All right.